Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, here as always with Nima Tavali. So the club football season is over, but the international football is still ongoing. On today's show, we will be talking about Italy's matches in the Nations League. Italy were in the semi-finals and they lost to Spain, but they beat Holland in the third and fourth playoff. So we're going to discuss those games. There's been a lot of discussion about Roberto Mancini's position. Is he still the right man for Italy going forward ahead of Euro 2024? So we're going to discuss that and we're going to look at what we learned from these two games, the players who need to stay, the players who need to go, and the players who need to be brought into the setup. Also, we will be previewing Italy's under-21s, who this week kick off their European Championship, Euro 2023. So we're going to do a preview of the tournament. The transfer market, of course, is in full swing. It doesn't officially open in Europe till July the 1st, but teams are already doing business. So we are going to discuss a few big issues around that. Rudi Garcia is the shock appointment at Napoli. Huge surprise. So we're going to discuss that. Juventus, there's chaos, still chaos at Juventus with their transfer situation. It looks like they're going to have to make definitely over 100 million, maybe up to 140 million euros on sales just to break even before they can even think about selling to buy. So we're going to look at their situation. Inter are getting closer to Davide Frattesi. They're the red-hot favourites to sign him. He was fantastic in this international break. We discussed that. Also, Nima versus Martin Samuel beef rolled over into last week after the Champions League final. So I want to talk a bit about that as well. So we'll have Badger and Prem Face of the week. We have another cracker on Prem Face of the week. We're going to have plenty of those over the transfer market. But for all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode, which we do every Monday. We review the weekend Serie A action. Of course, Serie A is over, but there'll still be plenty to talk about during the transfer market. Plus, all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all our content that we do throughout the week, including our weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all the questions sent in from our patrons, plus our weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and you become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. And for all of you listening on Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, we'd really appreciate it. Give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow, subscribe to us. We're on YouTube as well, all the social media accounts, and it really helps us to grow. Okay, right, let's start off with Italy then and the Nations League. Okay, so as I said in the intro, Italy played Spain in the semi-finals on Thursday. They lost 2-1 with a late winner from Joselu, and that meant that Italy played in the third and fourth playoff on Sunday, where they repaired a bit of the damage in beating Holland, who were the hosts, 3-2. So they finished third, bronze medal for the second successive Nations League. But the big overriding question, certainly after the Spain game, but even still now after the Holland game, is let's start off with Roberto Mancini. And is he still the right manager for Italy, Nima?
Yes, I think he is. I think it would be silly to get rid of him now, just because of, it's quite clear that what he's doing is he's looking for a new identity to build upon. And we're all watching that happen as it goes along. And he's looking for tactical, flexibility and for a team that can play in many different ways and shapes and styles. And I think the Spain game, to me, I like the formation. I didn't like the players used. I don't understand for the life of me why Bonucci is still in the Italian national team. And players like that. I think, it's not so much about their age, it's about the quality they deliver right now. And I don't think right now some of these players are good enough to play for Italy, especially when Italy have the players they do, and the level at which they can play at and the quality that they have. I mean, Toloi, Bonucci, okay, Jorginho scored. Immobile scored, but is he really for the future? Like, even Jorginho himself. I mean, it's time to move away from lots of these players. And I think, given the like you said, there's so much quality coming up, and there's so much young players that I think deserve a chance. I think it's time to phase a lot of them out. That's how I see the Spain game more than anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if we start with the Spain game, for the first time after that Spain game, I entertained the question seriously that we may have to debate, or I may have to consider whether Mancini is the right man for Italy. I was totally a big backer of Mancini after Italy failed to qualify for the World Cup. I thought that was, he made mistakes. He was too loyal to some of his players, but ultimately I thought Italy were just ridiculously unlucky to not qualify for the World Cup. It's stupid. Only one team qualify, and they just had one shot out of nowhere in the 91st minute. It was just, everything just seemed to go against Italy. And I supported him, and I almost felt like that was kind of vindicated by how well Italy did in the Nations League in qualifying for the semi-finals. I mean, they came out of a really tough group, and with Germany, with England, and I thought that was vindicated. But 2023, up to and including the Spain game, has not been good for Italy. And what I didn't like, what I saw in the Spain game, I thought, first of all, the performance was really bad against a very average Spain team who were missing key players. I watched Spain again on Sunday night against Croatia, and that confirmed what I saw against Italy, that this isn't a very good Spain team at all, structurally and in terms of personnel. I think they're a decent team, but nothing much more than that. I didn't like the formation. I agree that, it's good to test out different systems, but it was basically 3-5-1-1 going on Allegri, allowing the opposition to have the ball. I didn't like that. I didn't like the personnel, though. That is, I think, the issue that everyone seems to have. And we've got a segment after this where we'll look at the players that need to stay and who needs to go. But you mentioned some of them. Immobile, Jorginho, Toloi, Bonucci. I would add Cristante there, even though he's not old.
Maybe Cristante can do a role in like a role player. You know what I mean, like a squad rotation player. But he's not someone.
The issue I have with Cristante is that Italy have so much riches in central field that he shouldn't be anywhere closer to the Italy squad, considering what talent we have. And then even Spinazzola, kind of for the same reason. Like, we have such riches at left back. We have such great quality coming through, and I guess we'll see at the under-21s how some of them do. I didn't like the fact that he's still playing these players. He's still loyal to these players, even after failing to qualify for the World Cup. It's like, well, if you haven't learnt your lesson after failing to qualify for the World Cup, when are you going to learn it? And Bonucci in particular, I mean, I found that selection just utterly ridiculous. I mean, he's been... Anybody that's watching, Juventus fans who watch Juventus every single week will tell you that he's completely finished. But even those that watch him semi-regularly, non-Juventus fans, I think will agree that this is a player that's clearly past it. His legs have gone. He makes mistakes, and he made a dreadful mistake for the early goal. For two mistakes, actually. He got tackled twice. He got tackled, got lucky, won it back, got tackled again. And I mean, he's 36. He's going to be a year older in a year's time. He's going to be a year worse. I didn't get it. And Italy just looked stale. They looked like they needed to refresh. But they also lost their cohesion and their control of games. Now, even when Italy became predictable and a little bit sterile, which you could say against Macedonia in the playoff, they were maybe sterile. They had all the possession. They were dominating the ball, but we started entertaining the question. Remember, Nima, have Italy been found out? Have they been found out? Have the patterns of play that they used during the Euros, have those patterns been found out by the opposition? Maybe they had, but at least Italy were controlling the game. They were still cohesive. They just weren't maybe creating enough. They weren't dangerous enough. Well, Italy had completely lost their cohesion and their control in the Spain game. They conceded far too many chances and they broke through the lines too much. And so I thought, apart from Frattesi, I thought that it was negative after negative in the Spain game. So I did entertain that question after the Spain game. I have to be honest, but Mancini repaired the damage in that Holland game, and that was really important because if he'd have lost that game, then I really think the knives would have been out for him, and I think he needed that win. And that game, I think, and I pray that will be the last lesson that he needs. That he made the changes. He went back to a 4-3-3. The shape looked much better. He made the personnel changes. Raspadori, Retegui, Gnonto up front. Frattesi started again. Dimarco played. Buongiorno played. He played much closer to the lineup that we wanted against Spain. But more importantly, there was younger, there was fresher players there. And as a result, Italy did much better. They won 3-2. I didn't think they were outstanding, but we got positives out of the game. Dimarco was fantastic. I mean, if there's any doubt now, Nima, that this guy is I don't want to say the real deal. I don't want to go that far, but that this guy belongs at this high level, then I think this was just further confirmation because he was brilliant in the Champions League final against the best team you can play against. And again, in this game, I mean, him and Frattesi were the best players on the pitch. Scored a fantastic goal. And the thing about Dimarco, Nima, is he whenever he gets the ball, he doesn't give it away. He uses it. He never loses it. He always uses it well. But if he's in the final 30 metres of the pitch, he always makes things happen, whether it's through an assist, whether it's through a cross, whether it's through a shot that just went over. So he was great. And Frattesi as well. Fantastic. Golden
Well, this
assist
is what
against Holland.
I've been saying about Frattesi, that I think it's a bit unfair to call him a poor man's Barella. I think he's a great player in his own right. And I like what I liked about the Spain game was to see Barella and Frattesi play together, because I don't think there's a problem to play them together. And that's what I like the most about the Spain game. But I do like Frattesi. He's taken enormous strides this season. And I'm glad to see that he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves for Italy as well. Because I think, if you watched him play this season, you won't be surprised. He's been very, very good. He's taken lots of strides. And the same thing can be said about Dimarco. Look, the thing about Dimarco is when he was very raw and unpolished until Juric got his hands on him. And then since he came to Inzaghi's Inter, and Inzaghi's really got this guy improving season by season by season. He's taking strides in his game and improving his weaknesses every single year. He's not taking giant, massive leaps in quality, but he is improving. His positioning has improved. Like you say, his ball retention is very good now. He doesn't lose it. His decision making is improving. We know how good his left foot is. It's ridiculous when in terms of crosses and shots and set pieces. It's always a threat and always will be. And that's the most important thing you want to see. He keeps improving season by season, and that's a good thing for both Inter and Italy to know, to have. So no, I think for me, Destiny Udogie potentially is probably a world-class world beater. I'm just a little bit worried about the Spurs move might hamper him, but I think in terms of talent, there's no questions there. But we'll see. But I do think that Italy have so many players on left wing back that they can rotate in and out. I mean,
Parisi. I'm a big fan of Parisi as well.
I'm a huge fan of Parisi. Fan of Parisi.
Yeah, they've got three there, and that's why with Spinazzola, even though
Spinazzola can play in many positions. You see, that's the thing. I would keep him in the squad. I wouldn't start him, perhaps, maybe, but I'd still keep him in the squad.
Well, if he can play on the right, yeah, maybe. But yeah, so I thought Dimarco and Frattesi, they just offered this new, just freshened it up for Italy, and they've got quality as well. And Chiesa, I thought it was nice to see him score after a really tough season. He got the step over. He went past the best defender in history. So that was really great. And, first international goal in 2 years. I don't know whether this is more Van Dijk being finished himself or whether it's more Chiesa. No, but seriously, it was great. It was great to see Chiesa. I hope that can give him.
He needed that. He needed
the confidence that he needs.
Yeah, for sure.
So these were positives. There were still some negatives. The number 9 problem persists. Retegui was bad. His first touch is way off what is required of an international striker. He is so heavy. It's Lukaku at Man United level at times. But I want Italy to persevere with him because he's great in the air. He's actually not a bad ball carrier. When he turns and runs with it, he can drive into some space and open the pitch up a little bit. But I want us. The point I'm making is, some of these players might not be the real deal yet, but I want us to persevere with these because, the players that we're the older players that I mentioned, like Immobile, like Bonucci, like Jorginho. Well, we know that they're no longer able to give Italy what we need anymore. Some of the new players might not be able to either, but they might. Do you know what I mean? So there's still the chance there. So that's the point. That's why Mancini needs to be playing these younger players, and we saw that in the Holland game. That it's actually better to play these players. And I think Retegui, I want us to persevere with him. Toloi, though, absolutely not. He was right back in the Holland game. He was caught out for the goal. He was actually caught out twice for the two Gakpo chances. I'm not.
I've never been his fan. I don't understand what he's doing in this national team. He shouldn't even have been in the Euro squad. I was critical back then. I just don't see the greatness here. I don't understand what Mancini. Why, you want experience. That's great, but what experience are we? We're not exactly talking about Paolo Maldini at age 35, are we? We're talking about it's a decent player. He's played at Atalanta for most of his career. He's got Champions League experience, but we're not exactly talking about a legendary player who's got breadth of experience that offers that's indispensable to the squad. No, I don't think you've already got that level player who has that experience in the squad already. And I'm sorry, but this, Mancini complains a lot about youngsters not getting the chance in Italy. Well, you have the chance to play young players and you still go with Toloi and Acerbi and Bonucci. So I would maybe look in the mirror.
Acerbi's performing though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he is performing. He's been outstanding. But he pocketed Haaland less than 2 weeks ago. But my point is that you can't complain that there aren't any youth being played, and then you start with Toloi and Bonucci. I'm sorry, and Ciro Immobile and Jorginho, and then complain because, especially in positions where you have options. Like, it makes no sense to me. Toloi should never play for Italy again. He should never have played for Italy, period, because he's not good enough. But
that's the thing. If they're still performing, I'm fine. It's good to have. You need some experienced players in the team for the younger players. It will make the younger players improve. They need to improve from playing next to these players as well as through getting the experience. But Toloi clearly. I mean, he's not a right back either. I know it's kind of a hybrid where they they turn into a back three, but no, he's just not. He's not quick enough. He's just no. He makes mistakes. He was the worst defender in this match, and the point is that you gain nothing at all from playing him because one, he's not performing, and two, you're taking away the opportunity of a younger player to develop. And we saw that, and even if those younger players that you play turn out to be not good enough, well, they're not going to be any worse than Toloi because Toloi is not performing, and the same goes for some of those other players. And the best case and example is look at Buongiorno in this game. I actually thought he did well. I didn't think he was outstanding. I saw some people going overboard with how good he was.
Yeah, of course.
They're going way overboard. Italy still conceded 2 goals in this game and conceded too many chances for my liking. And against a poor Holland team. Holland were a disaster under Koeman. He's a disaster of a manager. They've conceded 11 goals in 3 games under Koeman. They've lost 3 of their 4 games since he come on. So this isn't a good Holland team. So I don't want to get carried away winning this game. But Buongiorno showed that you put in someone, give him an opportunity, and actually at the very, very least, he was no worse than the older players that played. In fact, he was better. But I'm saying at the very, very least, they can't be any worse, and it gives them a chance to develop. So, I thought he was definitely a positive as well. But the key thing here is Mancini must learn the lessons now from these 2 games that we saw in the second game, that by playing younger players, that we can win, we can add more, have something to build on.
Yeah. I think there is something to build on, and I think he just needs to learn the right lessons, and I think he has. I think the Nations League, I don't think he took... Yes, personally, I couldn't care less. I cannot express how little I care about the Nations League or the Finalissima and these Mickey Mouse tournaments like that. I don't care about it. For me, it's still a friendly. It's a friendly like Trofeo Birra Moretti Cup. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't care. But the thing that I care about the most is when you go into these European qualifiers in September, I want to see Italy with a clear idea and a clear identity against North Macedonia and the Ukraine. I really want Italy to have an idea. I want Mancini to be ready for those games, just like he was when he took over Italy, who were in mess. He had a clear, coherent plan. He put it into practice, and then he brought in players to play that adapted and suited that plan. That's what I want to see him do against.
And I don't want to see him
Macedonia.
return to this, because their next game is North Macedonia away and then Ukraine at home in September, and they're must-win games. They have to win these games, both of them, in order if they're going to qualify. And I don't want him to go into that North Macedonia away game, that Ukraine home game, and think, right, these are big must-win games. I have to go with the experience. I have to have Immobile up front. I have to have Jorginho in centre midfield. I have to have, Spinazzola at left back. I want him to go with the attitude and that we had in the Holland game, and just unleash some of these less experienced players, so that is the absolute key, because Italy are playing they're going to be playing catch up now, and there's only 8 games in the group, so there's no room for error. It's a 5-team group, and Italy have already played 2 games. They've lost one of them. There's no room for error in these small groups. Even though 2 teams qualify, they can't afford to make any more mistakes. So they have to win these matches. But if we can look at which players must stay and go, and who should kind of join up with Italy, let's start off with the players that should not play for Italy anymore. I've got a list as well. Let me go first. I'll go first, and you can tell me if you disagree with any of these and if you would add any to these. So, players that are out, I don't want to be part of the Italy squad anymore. Bonucci, Toloi, Emerson, Spinazzola, I put a question mark on him. I want him out for now, but I want to monitor him because he could still potentially be useful. Florenzi, Cristante, not because he's too old, but because, as I said before, there's such an abundance of top quality central midfielders that I just don't think he should be anywhere near the squad. Jorginho, again, let's see how he does next season. Maybe if he has a good season, he proves himself, maybe he can come back in closer to the time. Immobile, for the reasons I said. This is nothing personal against Immobile. It's just that we know what he can and more what he can't do for Italy, and I just want to try someone else. Belotti, absolutely not, and Grifo. So these are players that are either in the latest squad or who have been in the last few squads that I don't want part of Italy anymore. Do you agree with that? Would you add anyone else?
I want him to decide. I think Italy should play a 3-5-2, not a 3-5-1-1, but a 3-5-2. And I want him to. And I think in that role, I think Immobile can actually do still do something if he's got players close to him. But I mean, that remains to be seen because he's had a dreadful season with Lazio. Of course, there's been injuries and stuff, but he's had a really poor season and he's starting to look old. And that's something that, he's a goal scorer. And if he's not even delivering that anymore and he's not firing on all cylinders, then I don't really see the point of having Immobile in the squad. But if you're going to play a 4-3-3, you can't have Immobile or Belotti. Like they're not good enough. You have to find someone else. But since you've got Retegui in the squad and you got Raspadori, I think that's where I would go and decide on the formation and how you want to play. Although I get that he has a very fluid formation. That's why Toloi played right back, which really wasn't like right back because they played like a 3-5-2 essentially. But basically, if that's the idea, then get players into that. But I agree with Bonucci, Toloi, Florenzi, these guys, Immobile, Belotti, Grifo, they were never, move them on. With Spinazzola, Emerson, Cristante, Jorginho, I'd still keep them like in my mind, but I wouldn't have them, I wouldn't build around that. They're not my core players, so to speak.
Yeah, Emerson will have nowhere near. I mean, we've got so many quality left backs. I mean, Emerson doesn't get above doesn't get above
No, he doesn't.
Dimarco, Parisi, Udogi,
No,
or Spinazzola.
no,
He
no, he
should be
doesn't.
nowhere near. I can't believe he even got a recall in that last squad before this one. Okay, well, let's talk about the core players then, because this is, I think, is important. That these are the players that are definites that should always be in the squad,
Yeah,
and that you build and supplement with the newer and younger players.
yeah, yeah.
So Donnarumma, and we've also got plenty of good enough backups like Vicario and Providel, but let's say Donnarumma. Then Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Bastoni, and Acerbi, providing he can
Yeah, I mean, if he
maintain.
continues playing like
Yeah,
this,
yeah, absolutely. Providing he can maintain. He's 35 now, so
but again,
age catches up with you, can catch up with you
absolutely,
quickly.
and that drop up can happen really
It can
quickly.
happen, and it does happen suddenly as well.
Yeah,
Like we
it
saw with
does.
Bonucci
But I mean,
after
if he's going to
Euros.
play like this, where he nullifies and keeps Erling Haaland in his back pocket,
Yeah.
he has to start.
In
He's not
theory, Verratti should still be a core player, but I am a little bit alarmed by the last few months by his drop off at PSG,
I think
and
he's finished at this level.
also he wasn't that good. But I mean, I don't want to. I'm not going to write him off at 30 years old. For a player that keeps the ball so well, I'm not going to write him off.
But there's even talk of him going to Saudi Arabia now. So,
well, we'll see. I hope that's not true. But I would like to think that this is just a few months of bad form. So Verratti, absolutely. Barella, Tonali, Frattesi, and then Chiesa and Gnonto. Now, these are the players that I want them to build the team and the squad around. I want
that's the
them to be these
midfield.
players.
That's Italy's midfield for me. Barella, Tonali, Frattesi. I don't care if it's a 3-5-2 or if it's a 4-3-3. That is That is Italy's starting midfield. Barella, Tonali, Frattesi. Right now, those are the three that should start. Jorginho, if he continues to do well in the Premiership, you can still have him on. He's a very intelligent player. Verratti, same thing there with you. I mean, if he goes to Saudi Arabia, then goodbye. There's nothing to talk about. Especially also if you take into consideration how he's looked for PSG this past, for a long period of time now, if we're perfectly honest. But for me, Barella, Tonali, Frattesi, that's the starting midfield.
The problem is who plays as the six, who plays as the regista, who plays as
You don't need to
lying.
have that. That's the thing, though. I mean, Barella and Tonali are so versatile. I mean, that's the new midfield that we see now. That midfielders have to be able to do a little bit of everything. You can't just have one regista doing one thing.
No, that's true. But I think you still need someone with the natural attributes to be able to fill in. And I'm just not sure if any of those have
I think
got
Tonali
that.
and Barella between them could do that. Frattesi, not just yet. But, we'll see where he goes if he can, become more versatile. But I think Barella and Tonali have shown that they are very versatile players.
Yeah.
That they can
I just think that with these guys here, this core here, you've got more than enough experience. You've got more than enough players that have won the Euros, that can provide the what is needed to allow Mancini to just get rid of these other players that we mentioned before. There's no reason. You don't need to have all of those players just to be able to bring through one or two younger players. I think these are your core players. And you keep these, and then from around that, you then bring in youngsters or new players, depending on the form, depending on their development, depending on what is required for each particular match that's coming up. And those players, some of these are not ready yet. Some of them are not in good form at the moment, but Scalvini, Parisi, Cambiasso, Udogi, Gatti. Even Bellanova, Buongiorno, Ricci, Fagioli, Rovella, Raspadori, Zaniolo, Retegui, Scamacca, even Moise Kean, Pafundi, like these kind of players. Let's see how they develop. Let's see how they do. Sprinkle this core players with these kind of players, and they will do more.
And I would put Scamacca into the core players. Retegui and Scamacca I would put in there in the core players because you have to. You have to build around them. If you're going to, because there's not a single striker in that core player list, and you need to have at least one. And I prefer to have Scamacca there. I think there's a player there. I think that, as I said on this pod, when the rumors started about West Ham, my belief was that it was going to be a mistake, a huge mistake. I hoped I was wrong. I was proven right. Now he needs to return back to Italy, and he needs to play regularly. He needs to get away from David Moyes as far away as he humanly possibly can, and he needs to rebuild himself because I really believe that he's the future number 9, the the focal point for Italy. I really believe that.
He's definitely naturally and technically the most gifted and suited to the role in terms of joining the play up and bringing others into play and the quality that he has. But yeah, he needs to find absolutely the right club and right setup for him. But yeah, I mean, I've read down some of these names, and you also have others that potentially could be useful. Depending on form and development. The likes of Calabria. Romagnoli, Casale have had really good seasons at Lazio. Locatelli, who we saw at the Euros. Pessina, who I think is very underrated. Castrovilli, who's a huge talent. Even players like Politano. There is quality.
You have to have Berardi as well. I think Berardi.
Well, Berardi as well. I mean, there is quality there. Yeah. The point is that, you've got those core players, sprinkle it in with the best of these lot, depending on how things go. And this squad and team will do a hell of a lot better than taking those core players, but having Bonucci, Toloi, Emerson, Florenzi, Cristante, these kind of players who are old, and we know, we've had the answers in the last 2 years of what they can provide, and that's not going to change. They're only going to get older. So this is what Mancini needs to do now, going forward. He has to, and if he doesn't, then he has to go. It's simple as that. You can't be loyal. Can't show any more loyalty to these.
No. Enough's enough. Enough of this Italian thing that they do about loyalty, and stop it. Like, it's a new tournament. The past is the past. You've already missed 2 World Cups in a row. Like, stop. Move over. Move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about moving on, talking about the future, it is this week the beginning of the Euro 2023, the under-21 European Championship, which is taking place in Romania and Georgia. And Italy have been drawn in Group D. They have France in their group, which is going to be incredibly difficult. They're a fantastic team, but they've got Norway and Switzerland also in their group. So Italy will be fancying their chances of getting through the groups. If they do that, they will then play a team from the group containing Romania, Spain, Ukraine, and Croatia. And then in the semi-finals, they will probably meet France again. So they're a little bit unlucky that they will have to play France twice. I'll read out the squad, and then we can discuss what we think ahead of going into this tournament. So the goalkeepers are Caprile from Bari, Canesecchi, Cremonese, Turati from Frosinone. Defenders, Bellanova, Inter, Cambiasso, Juventus on loan at Bologna, Cittadini from Modena, Lovato from Salernitana, Occoli from Atalanta, Parisi from Empoli, Pirola from Salernitana, Scalvini from Atalanta, Ianoma Udogi, Udinese, Bove, Roma, Salvatore Esposito from Spezia, Miretti, Juve, Ricci, Torino, Rovella, Monza, Tonali, Milan, and in the forwards, Cambiaghi, Empoli, Cancellieri from Lazio, Colombo, Milan on loan at Lecce this past season, Gnonto, Leeds, and Pellegrini, Torino. So what's your overall view of that squad, Nima?
I love that squad. I really, really like it. I really like Canesecchi for me is the number one. Turati's had a great season, and so has Caprile as well. So great goalkeepers. The defense I really like, especially Pari. For me, this is genuinely difficult. Do you play with a back three, which I think I would do, or do you play with a back four, which would also work? Because you're really spoilt for riches. I think Cambiasso is great. He's had a great season. Parisi for sure. Scalvini, Udogi, we know how good they are. Occoli, I'm a big fan of. Lovato, Bella. No, I love this team.
Defense is stacked. How the hell you have to leave out one of Parisi and Udogi? It just feels wrong. One of those,
really wrong.
One of those is not going to start.
And then you have
I was going to say, to answer your question, it seems like they're going to play a 3-5-2.
Well, they should, because
that's what the coach. Whose name is now
what's his name?
Has now escaped me. Nicolato, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So Paolo Nicolato. So that's what he's intimated at, that it's going to be a 3-5-2.
Yeah, and that's fantastic, because I get the midfield three that I want. Because then you can play Bellanova or Cambiasso on the right. You can play Occoli Scalvini, and then or Lovato in the middle, and then either Parisi or Udogi on the wing back. And then in midfield, okay, Ricci, Rovella, Tonali has to start, and he will. I think, then you can choose one from Bove, Esposito, Miretti, Ricci, Rovella next to him.
It'll be one of Rovella or Esposito that will start, because they'll be the deep lying player.
What about, I think Ricci might actually, yeah. I mean, I would have liked that.
Well, Ricci can play as a Mezzala too, don't they?
Yeah, but I like to see him as it. But we'll see. And then Miretti's done really well. And Bove is a player I'm really excited about. So the midfield trio is
there's lots of quality. That midfield is going to be up there with the best midfields in the tournament, no doubt about it. Maybe the best.
And then up front, 3-5-2. For me, it's Colombo, Gnonto. Like, that's what I would start. Lorenzo Colombo will start, and then I'd start Gnonto next to him. But 3-5-2. I mean, Colombo. I think this is going to be finally the tournament that opens people's eyes to Colombo. I really rate this player, and I think he's shown such maturity and calm and cool. He's got a good head on his shoulders as well, and I think this is going to be the tournament where he wants to prove himself.
Yeah, I think Italy have a strong squad. I think they're definitely contenders. They've got an excellent goalkeeper at this level, Kanesecchi. They've got lots of quality and depth in defence, certainly in the wide areas and in the wing back areas. And the midfield, as we've said, lots of quality at this level. I think probably the best midfield in the tournament. And the issue for me is goals in attack. I'm not saying there's not quality in attack. I mean, Gnonto, we know, is a fantastic talent. I'm not saying, Cambiaghi's had a really strong end to the season with Empoli, albeit in a different system. Cancellieri hasn't played much. Pellegrini, he's been injured for years. Colombo, I'm a fan of him, but he's had a bad 2023 in the calendar year. So my question is there enough goals in this team?
I think
in
goals
the attack
will come.
That's the issue.
No, I think the goals will come. I think the goals will come from the midfield and Colombo. I'm not worried about that at all. I think Tonali is going to be someone they count on a lot on set pieces and to shoot, because he's got a good shot on him actually. But no, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I think there is goals in this team. I think Colombo's going to be incredibly important because he's a big lad. He's strong in the air and he's got a good head on his shoulder. Now, this is his tournament to shine. I've how much I've been a fan of his. But I think this is his tournament. This is his time to shine. And I think someone like Bove from midfield making runs in deep is also someone who's going to have a great tournament. At least that's what I hope.
Yeah, it's hard to know who they pick.
But this is my problem. I'm tired of the Italy under-21 having dream team after dream team year after year and having a manager that's just not good enough.
Well, that brings me on. That was my other question. I've got two question marks about this squad. One is, do we have enough goals in the attack? And number two is the coach. I have to be honest. He's a.
This is like Di Biagio. Like I'm hoping it's not, because I really think this is a quality side, but I have big questions over the under-21 selection coaching staff. And I have it, and it's not just now, it's been continuous for years now. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I think Di Biagio is one of the worst coaches I have ever seen at any level. But I hope that Nicolato is not that, and that he can actually show maturity and tactical maturity that we're because we're not very, he's not very well known, but we'll see.
No, absolutely. I mean, Nicolato is a question mark. I'm unlike you. I'm not 100% sure on the 3-5-2, but I do recognise it is the most suitable for the players that we've got. We don't have maybe enough quality in attack to justify playing three up front, in my opinion. So for that reason, I think playing two maybe is the way to go. But yeah, I'm not sure on Nicolato. I'm not. He's appears to me to be a little bit dated in some of his football. But we'll see. We hope the players can do it. This is a tournament that Italy absolutely dominated when I was a kid growing up. They won. Yeah. I remember in the 90s they won 3. three of these Euros, and then they won 2 in the early 2000s. They see between 1992 and 2004, they won 5 of 7 tournaments, which is insane, absolutely insane. But since winning in 2004, in Euro 2004, they've played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Euros, and they've not been knocked out in the group stage 4 of those 9 times. They didn't qualify for another of those. That's 5, where they haven't got past the group stage. And then they've got to a quarter-final, 2 semi-finals, and then 1 runners-up, which was 10 years ago.
I mean, I'm reading an interview with Nicolato now that I thought was really interesting. I mean, he says, there's a big debate on tactical systems, but I maintain it's not a system that makes you win or lose games. Anyone who thinks like that is 30 years out of date. I don't believe there is a defensive and an attacking tactical system. It's just shapes that are more or less suited to the players. In 10 qualifying games for the Euros, we played 7 with a 4-3-3 formation, 1 with a 4-2-3-1, 2 with a 3-5-2, and in the friendlies, we went with a 3-5-2. A coach must be able to use many different systems, then consider the players at his disposal and the strategy. Football has evolved. It's more about putting players in a position that will allow them to express their talent. We started playing 3-5-2 at the under-21 squad because we didn't have any wingers available, and all our defenders at club level play with 3 at the back. It wasn't my own individual choice. I've been coaching for 35 years, and 30 of those have been with 4 at the back. But if needed, I can and must adapt.
Yeah,
I like that.
Well, it's easy. Yeah, but I mean, I agree with the words, but it's easy to say words, and then then you have to just watch how he plays, watch how his teams play.
And about Gnonto, I really like it. He says, "Look, I see Gnonto as more of a striker, including a centre forward. He's played as a winger at club level and for Italy, but it doesn't seem like a classic winger to me. If anything, part of 2 up front or a centre forward in a 4-3-3, because he attacks the space and has that sprint in the final third."
Yeah.
That to me tells me it's going to be Colombo Gnonto, and I'm really happy about that.
Well, yeah, that was the interview that I read where he basically admitted he's going to play a 3-5-2, and I think that's for certain because he's only picked 5 forwards, I believe. So you don't pick 5 forwards if you're going to play 3 up front.
And I agree with him on Gnonto not being a winger and being more of a striker. I actually agree with him on that. That's how
I think he has the attributes to play both. I think he has the attributes to play both because he did play for before he moved to Leeds for who was it he played for? Was it Stone Graz? Zurich. When he played for Zurich, he played in a front 2. He played in a front 2 for Zurich. I don't know where he played for in the inter-youth system, but for Zurich he played in a front 2, and then for Leeds he's played as a winger. For Leeds and looked fantastic once he made the breakthrough there. So I mean, I think he has the attributes to play in both roles, which is good, which is what you want. That's what we want from modern players. The only thing I would say is there's one team I do fear in this tournament, and in terms of quality of their play, and their form hasn't been that great, and that's France. France have an incredible quality in their squad.
France have all in the recent years, them and Germany, they produce some incredible talent at the youth level.
Oh, well, you look through their squad. I mean, Thuram, who is the best Thuram of the best of the Thuram brothers.
Really, you're not a fan of Marcus?
Well, I'm a fan of him, but I think Kepa and Thuram definitely has the highest ceiling of the lot. I mean, did you see him in this season? I mean, wow, this guy he's everywhere. I mean, Kone, I think, is great. Olise's done really well at Crystal Palace. This Wahi has been linked to a lot of big European clubs, including Juventus. Kalimuendo, Cherki, Gueri. Mancini was trying to steal Cherki for the Italy national team. And so, I mean, they've got so much quality. So I do feel like France are the biggest contenders. So it will be a good gorge to see how they get on, because that's who Italy start their tournament on Thursday against France.
Yeah, and speaking of Italian coaches, Antonio Di Salvo at Germany in this tournament as well. Going to be interesting to see how he does.
That is right, yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting
talking about coaches, let's move on. Talking about new appointments. This, I couldn't believe it. I saw it on Twitter during the Italy against Spain game, actually. Then the announcement was made, or just before. And at first I thought it was a joke. I thought this can't be true, surely. And then it actually happened to be real, and that is that Rudi Garcia has been appointed as the new manager of Napoli. And the only way to describe this, Nima, is just bizarre, no?
It is bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. He hasn't won anything in over a decade of importance. He got sacked from his job in Saudi Arabia. He had one good season at Roma, if you ask me. Did all right at Lille, you could say. But to take the... I mean, I've been trying to be quiet, or I have been quiet about ADL because I thought he actually had a backup plan. Whether or not he did, this was not his backup plan. This was an emergency panic appointment. There is no way you can tell me that he was thinking that Rudi Garcia was his first choice after Spalletti left. There's no way that's true. And, you know, it's to me... Sorry, Lyon is the club I was talking about. He did all right with Marseille.
He won the league with Lille, yeah.
Yeah, he won the league with Lille. It was a Lyon and Marseille he did all right with. But he didn't do, you know... But to me, this just tells me that De Laurentiis bit off more than he can chew and that he's risking here. This could turn out to be a fantastic appointment. But as the reigning champions of Italy, the team that could have maybe done something in the Champions League, Rudi Garcia does not instill confidence in terms of keeping star players and wanting them to continue at Napoli. No. I'm sorry.
I agree. It's a mischance. It's a huge mischance, and it's a mischance at best, and it's a huge own goal at worst. Yeah. In a sense, like you said, after what Napoli did last season, the squad that they have, we know they're going to lose Kim Min-jae, but this was an opportunity to attract a top coach and build on that. And you know, Napoli, everyone's talking about Napoli, even Prem faces are talking about Napoli. Like that's how, you know, what they did last season and the football they played and the story, and everybody recognises, even Prem faces recognise that Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia, and there's no guarantee Osimhen will leave, by the way, because De Laurentiis is asking for so much money. You know, that they've got these players that you think, wow, you know, they can build on this, you know, and with a top coach, they can attract some players, and who knows, you know, we've seen what they've done. And then they appoint Rudi Garcia.
It's a joke for me. I'm sorry, and from a Napoli perspective, I'd be furious. I'd really be furious. But you know, again, first of all, if this was always he should have kept Spalletti. Like this is the thing. Yeah. This just makes the entire Spalletti situation look so stupid, even dumber than needed to be, because you know. You should have just kept your coach. You should have just sat down with Spalletti, offered him a contract extension, and given him the wages that he deserves. Maybe not overpay, but also not underpay, and not just automatically extend his contract to piss him off and he walks out the door, and then you go turn to Rudi Garcia.
I mean, I don't know how much. Do you know how much? I'm not sure how much Rudi Garcia is getting paid. Obviously, I'm sure the financial side of things is the reason why De Laurentiis has gone for Garcia, because he's going to have a low salary compared to the other coaches. But when you add that to the salary that he's still going to pay for De Laurentiis, because he's going to be seeing out his final year, then
Spalletti, you mean?
Doesn't really make Spalletti, yeah. So it doesn't really make much sense. And of all the options that De Laurentiis had, I mean, you know, he talked to Luis Enrique, then there was, you know, Nagelsmann was available, and it's Italiano.
But here's the thing. I mean, Luis Enrique going to PSG is a smart move finally by PSG. So yeah. I understand that he wanted to go there, because you and I both rate Luis
yes,
Enrique
but PSG he wasn't PSG's first choice. PSG were in negotiations. They basically had Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann then let them down at the last minute. When De Laurentiis was in the negotiations with Luis Enrique, PSG weren't even on the table. You know, so he could have closed that deal if he wanted to.
To me, that would have been a dream appointment.
Yes. Now, that is an appointment where you say, well, actually, getting rid of Spalletti, maybe De Laurentiis had a plan. Like you said, he had a plan, and this was maybe a master plan, and he's going to prove us all wrong.
Because I think that squad with Luis Enrique's football would be, I mean, that would have been an attraction. Like, you know, and the funny thing is, like, I think when Luis Enrique Spain, I thought, well, they played fantastic football, but they didn't have a number 9. Well, here he had Victor Osimhen. So
yeah, they didn't have a number 9. They didn't have any attackers.
Yeah. So
Yes.
here he would have had Victor Osimhen. So
Yeah.
now I hope for Napoli's sake that this doesn't end up in the shithouse, to put it bluntly. But
It's
there is a
difficult to
risk.
find. It's difficult to find anything to suggest. Well, actually, maybe he
No,
might be all right.
I think he'll get them in the top 4. I think that's still, based on where we are now on June 19th when we're recording this, and not too much has happened on the Mercato, and it's kind of a sluggish start to most teams. I think Napoli are still a top 4 side, and I think Rudi Garcia is good enough to get them in the top 4. But that's not what De Laurentiis said. His own words were a dynasty. Rudi Garcia is not how you start a dynasty. I'm sorry. I could be wrong, but nothing in his career, nothing in his football to this point suggests that you build a dynasty with Rudi Garcia.
Well, no, like you said, sacked by Al Nassr or sacked by Ronaldo, more like.
Yeah, exactly. He was sacked by Ronaldo.
He was sacked by Ronaldo. They didn't get on. But, since being sacked by Roma, when was that 2016? He was sacked by Roma. He's only coached in France and then Saudi Arabia. No disrespect to those places, but I mean, it doesn't. He's 59 years old, so he's coming.
Exactly.
He's coming out of the elite. He's been out of the elite of football for let's say 7 years. He's been. They plunged him out of the wilderness really at 59 years old. Okay, he got to a Champions League semi-final with Lyon that a few years ago, which was, it was a big surprise, but. I don't know what to grasp on. He plays a 4-3-3, so I guess that suits the players that Napoli have. So that maybe they won't be necessarily. He won't have to reinvent the wheel. With
the system is pretty much the same. The difference was that what made Napoli so good last season was the fact that they could alternate between a 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 in games. They had their wingers who were able to. Spalletti found the perfect system so that they weren't too easy to read when they were firing on all cylinders. He had the fullbacks push up, he had the wingers invert, you had an Osimhen who was all over the place who helped them out. The midfield, that was fantastic. A defense, the best defender in Europe, in the world last season, in my opinion, Kim Min-jae, who allowed them to play with a high defensive line as well. If he leaves, who are you going to replace him with? And whoever it is probably not going to be as good as Kim Min-jae. You don't find players like Kim Min-jae growing on trees. So there is going to be a drop off. The question is that drop-off, is Garcia the right man to continue on Spalletti's work, or is he going to be a more rigid 4-3-3, which then allows, creates lots of holes, and then if you don't find a quick defender who can replace Kim Min-jae adequately, well, you got a mess on your hands, because then Napoli are going to hemorrhage goals. They're going to leave lots of space behind, and then he's playing catch-up. So there are question marks there. But having said that, if Kim Min-jae is the only player Napoli lose, they are able to bring him in, to bring in a quick defender who can replace him well. They're still the champions of Italy. They're still a side with all the quality players they have. What can Garcia do? Can he build on it? Can he maintain it? That's going to be the question. And
now, if I'm a Napoli fan, a negative thinking Napoli fan, I'd be thinking we've lost Spalletti and we've got Garcia in. We may lose Giuntoli and his close staff members, but even if we keep Giuntoli, well, how motivated is he going to be? Because we know he's going to leave in a year's time. Giuntoli wasn't even told about Garcia's appointment. He didn't even know anything about it till he saw
which
it
is
on
insane.
social
Again,
media.
Which is completely mental, because then you just brought in a coach over the head of your sporting director who you've worked so well with. It's just,
where is the synergy? Yeah.
No, but what are you doing? You don't need to go full on crazy, Roman emperor just because you've won one Scudetto. What made you successful was that you had an organization in place, despite you being bombastic. But now you've gone full on, crazy Roman Empire, appointing his horse as Secretary of State because you've won one battle. And it's like, well, this could easily blow up in his face, and he doesn't. It's a shame, because I actually think that when you look at Napoli and the football they played and what they built there was actually the building blocks in play to do something interesting for the to build something sustainable and long term.
Who was that? The Caligula, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Nero or Caligula. Yeah, I mean it's you know he
I love that story.
naming your horse Secretary of State. No, but seriously, it's like, yeah, no, it's yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's people.
It wasn't Caligula. It was Nero.
It was
I think it was Nero. I think
no,
it was
no,
Nero.
it was definitely. I think it was Caligula. He made him a consul.
Yeah, he made him a consul, but yeah,
He
did lots of things. I think it was Caligula who also ordered the Roman legions to attack the English Channel and take shellfish as prisoners of war.
Yeah, well, maybe De Laurentiis will do that next, maybe.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. It's just like, stop. This is the problem when you have someone like, I actually think he's a very competent person, but the problem is that when someone's ego is when someone with a big ego has success, they tend to forget what made them successful in the first place. And I have a feeling that this would be the most Napoli thing ever, to have everything just explode in his face, and he chased out of town, when with a little bit of patience and calm and diplomacy, they could have actually built something really historic and sustainable here. For example, they could have kept Luciano Spalletti, for goodness sake. He's 64 years old. He wasn't going to go anywhere. There wasn't exactly, you sit down with him, you say, look, I can't afford more than this, but we can actually do something. I'm going to keep this. Do you know what I mean? Like, do something. But this notion of just extending his contract, not talking to him, and him just feeling like, I'm done with you, then, it's silly. And they're not even telling Giuntoli about it. That's the thing. Giuntoli didn't even know about it.
Kim's going to leave, and Osimhen potentially. But
what's the point of keeping Giuntoli for the next 12 months? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing just falls on his face when.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that De Laurentiis is slowing down the process because he wants to mess Juventus up, which is I can understand. That's they're a rival. You want to complicate things for your rivals, but you're actually stabbing yourself in the.
You're cutting your nose to spite your face, and that to me is stupid.
That's it. They're harming Juventus at the moment. Napoli, De Laurentiis is, but they're also harming themselves, because Napoli are not able to do anything in the market either, really. Anyway, talking about Juventus, Juventus's transfer market is in chaos at the moment. They need to make over 100 million. Some have said, I think Romeo Agresti, who we're going to get onto the pod before the end of the month, he's promised to come on to talk about this in more detail, has said it could be as much as 140 million euros that Juventus need to make from player sales.
This is what happened to Inter immediately after they won the Scudetto, and they won, they had to make a net profit of 140 million to end the summer.
Inter.
Yeah, Inter, yeah. That's what I said. After when Conte resigned and left,
and they came out of it pretty well. I mean, okay, they haven't won the Scudetto in the last 2 years, but they've shown that if you have the right people in charge, there is the possibility you can build something. Unfortunately, I don't think Juventus have those people in charge. I don't have anyone in charge at the moment. But anyway, this is where Juventus are at the moment. Once they've done that, they then need to sell in order to buy. So they make their 100 to 140 million. And then if they want to buy someone, they have to sell someone else, and then they will use that money to buy. So, you can see that the situation that Juventus are in is not good. Not qualifying for the Champions League. This is the money that needs to be paid back. Now they will have to sacrifice at least one big name star this summer. It's probably going to be two. I think
it's going to be two. If
you take into account what I've just said about them needing to then sell to buy. For that reason, because I think they can probably make enough to pay back, to break even by selling Vlahovic. He's the chosen one, right? He's the one that they are going to try and sell to make. They've put a price tag on him of 80 million. I think they'll do incredibly well to get 80 for him, but that's what they're going for. They've already sold Kulusevski for 30 million. They've already made just under 10 million from selling some small players like Draguzin and a couple of others. So they've already made close to 40 million already. So they need to basically make another 100 million. If they sell Vlahovic for 80 or 70, that takes a big chunk of it. And then all of the midfielders who return from loan, Juventus are put up for sale. So we're talking Weston McKennie, Zakaria, Arthur Melo, some other loan players too as well, like Luca Pellegrini, who was at Lazio. So they sell those, they will get over the mark. But obviously, they're in a very tough situation. Nima.
They're in a complete mess. This is what they should have done. Had they sorted this out in just when Inter and everyone else had to after COVID, they wouldn't be here. Lots of things wouldn't have happened. First of all, they'd be in the Champions League this season, which would have eased the blow a little bit much more. But here they are, and you can't kick the can down the line too much either in life. You have to bite the bullet at some point, and this is going to be the season where they bite the bullet. And I think this is going to be the season where they basically look at it and go, okay, now it's what formation do we play? Who can we sacrifice? We get rid of them, try to bring in young and homegrown, and then go from there. And that's why they're so keen on Frattesi. That's why they've been linked with so many of these younger Italian players. And I think that's the right way forward for all Italian clubs, but Juve especially.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Romeo, like I said, Romeo will come on maybe next week, and he will come on soon, and he will go into more detail on kind of what the plans are. But I think a key aspect is, like you said, they need to pick a formation, a system, then build their transfer market in terms of outgoings and players coming in around that. That's something that Juventus haven't done. If I can just finish. No. That is something that Juventus haven't done for, I would even date back as far as when they signed Ronaldo. Basically, when Frattesi took charge of the ship, Juventus stopped building their transfer market around the formation. They just brought in players, some players that could play in one system, some players that can play in another system. Last year was an absolute joke in that regard. That you had certain players that could play in systems with wingers and some that couldn't. The same with the defence. You buy Bremer who can't play in a back four, can only play in a back three, and then you have Chiesa, for example, who can't play in a team. I
think Chiesa can play as a second striker, like in a 3-5-2, or a 3-4-3. I really think that. I'm not saying as a wing back. No, never a wing back. But either as a winger in a 3-4-3 or as a second striker in a 3-5-2, I believe. Yeah,
we've had this debate before. I disagree in a 3-5-2. He's never proven it ever in a 3-5-2. And he hates it as well. That's one of the reasons he wants to leave. But I think that Juventus need to go back to saying, right, decide now, June the 19th. Decide now. Next season we're playing a 4-3-3, and we'll build our transfer market around that. No more of this buying players and then trying to sort the formation out afterwards, and then chopping and changing. Allegri's playing one. I know he likes to do that, but that needs to stop as well. He needs to decide, right, this is my main formation. Okay, sometimes I might need to change it within games, and if I've got adaptable and versatile players that can do that, even better. But the starting point, the foundation needs to be, we're playing a 4-3-3, we're playing a back three, and we're sticking with it. And that, I think, is dependent on, there's rumours that Bremer and Kostic could be sold. Bremer and Kostic will be sold if they go back to a back four, because Bremer is not ideal in a back four.
And Kostic would be a waste of space in a back four, like a complete waste.
Yeah, he can't play there either. But if they were to go with a back three, then Chiesa, Illing Jr. could be sold because they're not suited to that system. So that, I think, is a lot will depend on that. But they're getting rid of a lot of players. Cuadrado, Paredes, Di Maria are all going to be released. Alexandro, they're looking to release him as well, even though he still has another year on his contract. But as I was saying, we touched upon in the Napoli segment, is that Juventus are in limbo because Giuntoli's situation is not resolved. They want him now, but they might not be able to get him for a year's time. So Giovanni Manna, who is the director of the Next Gen
and has done a good job, let's be honest.
For Next Gen, absolutely. He's been the caretaking sporting director at the moment. So he's in an interim role, which is not ideal at all.
No.
So, as we stand, it's kind of like nothing is really clear right now, other than we know Juventus need to make all this money back and then take it from there. So, yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's not how you want to start your transfer market, because you want to start it early. You want to be on the front foot, and you're already planning, and that gets you ready. Pre-season training starts, actually not that long till pre-season training starts, only a few weeks away. You want most of your players there. And
if you're going to play in the Conference League, we're what are we talking, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, like from now? I mean,
yeah. So it's a mess. But like I said, we'll get Romeo on, and I'm sure he will be able to explain a little bit more.
I wouldn't be surprised if Artur Melo was somehow reintegrated back into the Juve squad properly. Not
with Allegri as man. I mean, Allegri's even come out and said he doesn't suit my football. So I mean, he'd have to go back on that. But I mean, I would not be surprised if Allegri, if Artur Melo is at Juventus next season, though, because there's no market for him.
No. I think Allegri's smart enough to understand that in the situation he's in. I don't think Allegri's not an idiot, despite what you think. He's not. He knows what he's doing, and I think he has a very pragmatic approach to life and football. He looks at what he's got, he looks at the situation, and he thinks, okay, well, I have to make this work, and then I will make it work. So I think we'll see what happens in August, but I wouldn't be surprised if Artur Melo had a second spring at Juve. If he can stay fit, is the key. That's the key.
Yeah. If he ever had a first spring, I don't know.
Well, he had it at Barcelona. He wasn't a bad player at Barcelona.
Yeah, but I mean at Juventus, I'm sure he had a.
But Juventus has been a burning dumpster fire for like 4 or 5 years now. It's like, what can you do?
Frattesi to Inter, Nima. What's the situation there? What's the
Inter. The situation is this: Inter don't need to make after 2 summers of having to end it on a profit of both summers combined, somewhere around 190 million. They are in a situation where it's 1 out, 1 in, meaning plus minus 0, which is a fantastic and vast improvement on previous seasons. What that also means is that Frattesi's been very clear he doesn't want to leave the Serie A, which I think is incredibly wise of him. I wish more Italian youngsters would take that advice, because I don't think they going to the Premier League and because Italians, also the Italian mentality, like they should stay in the south of Europe. They like that lifestyle. England is different. It's a different climate. It's different food. It's different culture. The media is different. Everything is different. Spain, Portugal, Italy, they're not too different, So I think he's showing maturity that he's like, no, I'm not ready for a move abroad yet. I want to stay here, regardless of how much money I'll make, essentially. So, Inter have pretty much a deal in place with him. I think it's Mulattieri plus 35 million. It's a loan with an obligation to buy over 2 seasons, also known as the Beppe Marotta special. But then, in order to do that, they have to sell a player, and that's why I think the reason why these Barella rumors started was because they've, if you don't understand football very well, and you understand that Frattesi and Barella are very similar, and you say, well, one of them has to leave in order for the other one to come in, and ergo you see the circus we saw about £50 million, which seems to be some sort of mental glitch in the heads of the English mainstream media, that Barella's worth £50 million and not a penny more. They've decided that for everyone else. The problem is that it's not their decision to make, and Inter basically laughed at the whole thing and said, he's worth 100 million, like, go away. So 100 million, let's talk euros. So I think Brozovic is the one that they have to get rid of. It's either that or Barella or Onana. And for me, you don't sell Onana and you don't sell Barella. If you have to make space, for me, it's, even though I love Marcelo Brozovic, don't get me wrong, but I mean, out of those 3, who's younger, who's got the most potential, who's got his best years ahead of him, or who has most of his best years ahead of him? Well, it's Barella and Onana are younger, and they have their best year, more peak years ahead of them than Brozovic is 30, 31. It's just that simple. It's a shitty situation, but here we are. Inter are in the settlement agreement with as well. because for violating UEFA's financial fair play rules, which is a joke, especially when you have Chelsea doing what they're doing with Saudi Arabia, who PIF, who are now are pretty much bought parts of the.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
investment.
We have to talk about this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Like everything that we're saying about the financial gulf in football and how the Premier League is the Super League and how it's just impossible for any other league or team from any other league, with the exception of PSG, competing with the Premier League. And now we have a situation where the PIF, Newcastle's owners, have billions of pounds of assets in Clearlake, who own the majority stake in Chelsea. And the PIF are also funding 4 Saudi Arabian clubs that they are now selling all of Chelsea's fringe players to these clubs that they fund in Saudi Arabia. I mean, this is financial doping.
Well, not really. I mean, look, I understand what you're saying, but it's legal, and you can't really argue it because the difference here between ridiculously inflated sponsorship deals is that here at least there's actual players moving. This isn't, unless they are paying 180 million pounds for Koulibaly in transfer fees, you can't say that they are financially doping, because someone like Koulibaly came for 40 million, they sell him a year later for 30 million. That's not financial doping. Like that falls within the kind of perimeter. This isn't plusvalenza gate, you know what I mean? But it is, for me, the broader issue here is, how is it okay for investment companies or companies to own several clubs in one league, which is essentially what PIF are doing now?
Yeah. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be multi club ownership. Should be banned. Full stop.
No, I agree with that. But
in any league,
yeah, in any league.
But now it's been expanded to the same league. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, and Ceferin essentially said, I mean, what was it, a few weeks ago? What was that interview he did? He said, we were gonna have to get used to this. And then he talks about financial fair play, and he talks about fair play full stop. It's ridiculous. The football is turning into WWE now.
No, that's exactly what it is. I mean, you just have to laugh at it and just say,
this is again why I am in favor of the European Super League, because the current paradigm is turning into an absolute joke. It's turning into Vince McMahon's WWE. It is.
And now they're trying to invest in Sheffield United as well.
No, of course. No, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? I mean, when there are no laws and rules in place, I'm not having to go at PIF. They want to invest, and they're following the framework. They want to invest in their league, and I think what they're doing with the Saudi league. Let's remember, Saudi Arabia is not. It's a big country. It has a huge population. It has a football mad population that has a long history as well. There is football culture in Saudi Arabia, even if most people in West aren't aware of it. As someone who has origin from Asia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Japan, these countries have football history and culture. And what they are doing now is they want to build their own league. They want to open it up. They want to professionalize it. They have a huge fan base. In their stadiums. Go and watch the Saudi league. It's not a Mickey Mouse league anymore. It's not. They have fans. And they're just trying to improve their league, and I'm not surprised that they're bringing in Kante and all these players. Koulibaly, Kante, Ronaldo, all these. They want to grow their league. Their goal is to host the World Cup. They've seen Qatar do it.
No problem with that. No problem at all. Football's for everyone. Yeah. It's for the globe. The problem is with Premier League, we've got to a point now where you've got somebody, or you've got the PIF that are funding multiple teams in one league. I mean, what's going to happen? They're going to own the whole league. That's
because UEFA aren't doing their jobs. That's the problem. The problem is that Ceferin and UEFA have no problem with this. They're in favor of this because it suits their interests, but their interests aren't aligned with what's good for all of European football. UEFA's in it for their own sake because they have power and money. They're trying to protect that. And the European football is suffering as a result of that, because there already is a European Super League. It's called the English Super League. It's more famously known as the Premier League. And now it's going on overdrive and steroids, where you're going to see more and more companies invest in several different clubs in the Premier League. And that's just going to make the Premier League just dominate even more at the cost of everyone else. So the European Super League is needed now more than ever.
But football's completely done. Club football is completely done. I mean, what kind of a joke is this now, really? What kind of a joke is this?
I mean, but the thing is, I just want to say, like, just to be clear, the Chelsea thing, well, here they're actually selling players. Do you know what I mean? It's not inflated sponsorship deals.
They're selling players for
where they're
backdating
backdating contracts.
Yeah,
but they're not overpaying. We have to wait and see again. If Koulibaly goes to Saudi Arabia for 100 million euros,
there's no way in a million years they were ever going to sell Koulibaly for 30 million, and there's no way they're ever going to find a team also that would pay his salary as well. So, and it's the same goes for all the players.
But that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, how much are they actually going to pay for him?
It's still quite important though, because if there's no market for a player, then you're just artificially.
Well, there is a market for a player now. This is what I mean. There is a market for this player. They want this player.
Well, there's no. The only offers available for these players are loan deals. They can't sell these players. There's only loan deals. All the offers for Koulibaly are loan deals from Italy, like from Inter. Inter want to sign Koulibaly, don't they? He's one of their offers. Now they can't sell him because they're going to sell him for 30 million or whatever it is to a Saudi Arabian club. So it's still it's different. It's much
different. I wouldn't call this financial doping. For me, I mean, again, it depends. If Koulibaly is sold to Saudi Arabia for a ridiculous inflated price, then we can talk. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a player who joined Chelsea for 40 million a year ago and is being sold a year later for 30.
Yeah, but they wouldn't sell him if they didn't buy him themselves for their own same entity, which is
they're not,
wrong.
Because
it's the same entity that's buying him.
But at the same time, this is not. This is what I mean.
You can say it's legal or illegal, but it's totally wrong. This shouldn't be permitted in football. So as
long as UEFA allow it, then it's going to happen. And the fact that they are not only not wanting to allow it, they're in favor of it. You heard what Ceferin said. I watched his lips move when he said it. He said it. This is where he wants football to go, and then people have the audacity to talk about football being saved, and and football being fair. How? I mean, it's a joke. No other professional sports allows this level.
Well, that's what football has become. It's become a complete joke. It really has. They've destroyed it. Okay, let's finish with Bad Joe and Prem Face of the Week. Bad Joe, Nima, what you got?
I don't really have that much. I don't really have any. I think you tell you what. I was thinking Frattesi, because I think he's been really good for Italy these two games. So that's the only thing I've got, to be honest. I don't really have a Baggio. I don't think we've seen anything Baggio-esque this week.
Okay, fair enough. Prem Face, I've got two. I'm going to go for our good old friend Rory Jennings. Rory the Tory, as he is known, who described Declan Rice as a, I quote, bargain at £100 million. £100 million, Declan Rice is a bargain. And but Declan Rice with Prem Faces, they're just obsessed with him. They are just obsessed with Declan Rice. It's this, again, another hallmark of the Prem Face. If someone runs, works hard, puts in lots of tackles, they appreciate them so much more than they do skillful players. I don't know what it is, but Declan Rice seems to be the poster boy of it. And he's on the way to. It looks like he's going to be on the way to Arsenal, although Man City might come in. And I think Declan Rice is a good player. He's not my type of player. I think he's a good player
too. I think
he's a good player. He's not my type of player. I think he's exceptional at protecting the back four, protecting the defence, that kind of role. But I think with the ball, I think he's limited, and I don't think he's somebody that controls the play, and I don't think his short game is good, and the little triangles that he can play, and all that kind of stuff, which I think you need for big clubs. He's just not my kind of player. I appreciate the role that he does, but to call £100 million a bargain for Declan Rice, I mean, yeah, insane.
Let's remember that Rory Jennings is the guy who said that about Erling Haaland that he was going to be an absolute flop in the Premier
he wouldn't score 15 goals.
Yeah. And then he apologized, to be fair. We got to be honest. He said,
did he?
Yeah, he apologized to Erling Haaland and said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But, he called Erling Haaland predicted him to be a flop transfer. And I can't remember, there was a guy in the room who, when he said that, had his face buried in his hands and couldn't even look at him because it was so dumb when he said it. But yeah, it's he apologized. But yeah, this is the guy who says these things.
Yeah, the second Prem face of the week it's not really a Prem face. It's just somebody that did something really stupid and bad. And that is the referee in the playoff to get into Serie C playoff between Foggia and Lecco. It was the first leg, and Foggia were drawing. It was 1-1 at the time in the first leg of this tie in Foggia. And full disclosure, Foggia are my dad's hometown team. It's where my dad's from.
Isn't Zeman there?
No, Zeman's at Pescara.
Oh, he's back there now. Sorry, you're right.
Pescara.
Yeah, he was at Foggia.
Foggia actually beat Pescara in the playoff routes in Serie C are ridiculously long. You have to play like 1,000 rounds. It's like 1,000 home and away rounds to get to the playoff final. And Foggia went through. It must have been about 4 or 5 to get to the final. They played against Lecco, and the first leg they're drawing 1-1, and Foggia score a completely valid goal. Nothing wrong with it to go 2-1 up. Their striker scored, former Inter player actually, that scored the goal, and the referee disallowed it for a push. I mean, just watch the replay. I mean, the guy doesn't even barely flicks his shirt. I mean, doesn't even barely touch him. It's the most ridiculous disallowed goal anyway.
I love that you're angry at this.
A minute later, another chance for Foggia. Foggia players charging in, about to head it into an open net. A Lecco defender comes up and with 2 hands pushes him out of the way of the ball, and the ball goes over. Is a clear push. It should have been a penalty and probably a red card as well. And the referee gives nothing. Now, so in the space of a minute, he disallows a Foggia goal for the lightest touch ever, and then doesn't give a Foggia a penalty for a massive push from the Lecco player. Foggia totally dominated this first leg, and then Lecco scored like this wonder free kick, like 3 minutes from time. It was a miracle free kick from miles out. They won 2-1, and then it went to the second leg. And Foggia actually went 1-0 up in the second leg, and then they had another in the second leg. They had another dodgy penalty given against them. Lecco equalised, and then Foggia lost their heads, and they lost. So Foggia stay in Serie C. So I'm
I love when you angry. I love this. You going down the pyramid of Italian football and getting all angry about it.
Well, you want to hear something funny about it? I've got a good friend actually who's a Foggia fan who was going mad about it. But the funny thing is I don't know if this is true. It sounds like this is something that is the kind of thing that Italian football fans would do. But it went viral on Foggia Twitter and Foggia Twitter, Foggia forums, Twitter,
I love this.
Internet forums. That the referee of the first leg that had cheated them was the cousin of one of the Lecco players, and it went everywhere. It was spread around all social media, Facebook.
Oh, I love this.
I have no idea if it's true or not. Something tells me that it's probably bullshit. Like, he just made it
probably
up.
Is. Hopefully.
I found that hilarious.
It's so funny. It's like this is Italian football. The madness of Italian football is just is when it's at its best. And the further down the system you go, the pyramid you go, the more to the core you get.
They are so passionate. I mean, if you'd have seen the fans in the stadium and for a game down this far down, and I think that is one thing that is beautiful about Italian football.
It's
the passion lower down for the teams. But I mean, Lecco. I mean, I would say one thing. Lecco, it's their first time in 50 years they're in Serie B, and so I mean, it is a nice story for them. But
yeah, of course,
Foggia got cheated, man.
Got cheated. Justice for Foggia. Oh dear, no, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so that is actually it now. Officially, the club season, I believe, is over, unless there's some other playoffs further down. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's. We'll see. The Mercato, the club season is now over for Italy, at least. That we can say. I don't know of any other football going on right now in Italy at club level. In one of the Serie A, Serie B, Serie C, Serie D at least. That's it. So we can call it there. Maybe there's some other football going on at lower level, but I'm not aware of that.
Yeah. Okay, right. We will be back on Tuesday for the Q&A. Then Thursday we will do the Inter transfer.
The Mercato special, yeah.
Absolutely.
With Simone Tonia. Yeah, I've already confirmed with Simone, so we're going to do it then. I'm apologizing.
And there's lots to talk about. Because Inter are actually very active in terms of who's coming in, who's going out. So that will be a really good show. And
Frattesi, for sure.
Obviously a big talking point. Koulibaly, Lukaku,
who also has offers from Saudi Arabia, by the way.
Yeah, he does, but he doesn't want to go.
No, he doesn't want to go.
Which is good. He wants to still play in the top level of European football.
I don't know, man. I have this thing where I'm thinking, I understand if Simone wants Lukaku and all that, but I wouldn't mind if, based on what we've seen, I'm not entirely convinced if keeping Lukaku would be such a good idea. It's
probably not in the medium to long term, but you know what? Inzaghi might feel, I want to win the Scudetto next season.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Juventus are a mess. Napoli look like they're in a bit of a mess. Milan, they're in a bit of a mess.
Well, they're not but at the same time, Milan are buying, it's Maldini's signing, but the what's his name? The Japanese player's name eludes me.
Kamada.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, he's going to be good for them. I think they're after Marcus Thuram was on a free transfer. We'll see if he goes to PSG. If he goes to Milan, I will be very pissed off with Inter because I think, again, like with Dybala, instead of owning the player, you're going after someone you don't own. And I think Marcus Thuram is someone Inter already wanted instead of Correa. And now they could have gotten him on a free. And instead they insist on beating the dead horse that is Romelu Lukaku. I mean, I don't know, man. It's annoying.
Well, enough about horses in today's show. let's leave it at that. We will be, like I said, back on Tuesday for the Q&A. So we will see you then. Until then, ciao, ciao.